This week's quote comes from one of my favorites when it comes to things money. You know, my favorite person to give you quotes from is probably Dolly Parton, because yes, I'm that kind of person and I love me some Dolly. This is just one of those things that I always said if I were able to meet Dolly Parton ever, I would probably just lose control of bodily functions. But as far as quotes directly dealing with money and with investing in particular, Warren Buffett is probably my favorite here. And that is because he is the Oracle of Omaha. He is probably the most prolific investor of our time. Really, really is, and has made a lot of money doing what he does. And so he knows what he's talking about. And Warren Buffett said this: "It's good to learn from your mistakes. It's better to learn from other people's mistakes." It's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to learn from other people's mistakes, said Warren Buffett. And I think that is great. That is great advice and knowledge to put out there. Because I will say, and I can attest to this, in my own life, I've had to learn from my own mistakes quite a bit. Because I'm kind of stubborn a lot of the time. I made money mistakes earlier on in my life. Still not perfect now, but I've come a heck of a long way. But those money mistakes have led me to where I am today, where I have gotten myself the education, the certifications, the licensing, and all of that to be able to help people better their situation. As a fiduciary, working in a fiduciary capacity, I have to work with your best interests in mind, right? So my mistakes in the past have led me to learn, to then seek to get more education on top of that, to help other people because of the fact that I've made mistakes. Not the only reason, but a big reason that I do what I do is because of those mistakes and the fact that I've learned from them. But I will say something else too, that it's pretty painful to have to learn from your own mistakes. And this doesn't just go with money, because all aspects of our lives, and trust me, I know about this too. Learning from our own mistakes can be very painful, because a lot of times you have to learn the hard way, right? So if you can learn from other people's mistakes, then you can learn the lesson that you need to learn, but you don't have to learn it the hard way. You can learn it an easier way, a less painful way, right? And that's really the whole point of the show today. I want you to retire smarter. I want you to retire with pride, of course. Have a retirement that you can take pride in. LGBTQ plus folks do face unique challenges and opportunities as well. It's not just the challenges, it is the opportunities that we have because of who we are. And here are some common mistakes I'm going to go through that LGBTQ plus people might face when planning for retirement, and some suggestions on how to avoid them. And I'll have kind of one big one a little bit later on, a suggestion about how you can avoid really all of these in one. But first, let's start going down this list, okay? Got a few of them here. And number one is the mistake would be not considering unique legal and financial protections. So the mistake would be, assuming that you have equal access to spousal benefits or inheritance laws in your particular jurisdiction, wherever you might live, without verifying that that's the case. So you need to ensure that there is legal recognition of partnerships through marriage or a registration of a domestic partnership, if that's needed, where you are. You also need to update wills, trusts, beneficiary designations. That's so important to reflect your intentions, especially if you are maybe estranged from your biological family. Thing that you need to really keep in mind there is just to keep all of that current. And then I'll also say, if you've been divorced, that is something to keep in mind as well. Make sure those beneficiary designations, your wills, any trusts or anything like that are also up to date, because if you have been previously married, and I actually had someone not long ago reach out to me because he had been previously married to a woman, was now married to a man, but the ex-wife was still the beneficiary on some plans and some accounts that he had. And so he wanted to get those switched over. And so that was something that we could, of course, help him out with and make sure that all of that was up to date. So that is a good thing to do. So the mistake would be not considering unique legal and financial protections. And of course, the solution there is to make sure everything's up to date and make sure that you take into account local laws and regulations when you are planning. Number two is overlooking healthcare needs. Overlooking healthcare needs, failing to plan for potentially higher healthcare costs due to discrimination or due to specific medical needs. Even things like hormone therapy or surgeries for trans individuals, right? If you, those types of things, God knows, with the new administration we've already seen some, even just recognition that trans people exist, kind of under attack in Washington. And so you really need to make sure that you take these things into account when you're planning and plan for that, right? And there's, you worry that you might not have a solution out there. I guarantee you that there probably is. There is a great chance that we can find you a solution to a problem that you might face when it comes to healthcare, based on, things like the need for that hormone therapy, the need for surgery, the need for any other type of care that might be, just based on who you are. So, one thing that you can do on your own is to research inclusive healthcare providers. Make sure that the providers that you are visiting and that you are entrusting with your care, they're caring for you, are those who see you as a whole person, not just, half a human being or, anything like that. You need to consider long-term care insurance needs to address your future needs as well. So, get in touch with me if that's something you'd like to explore, because I would love to help you out with that. Again, takeprideinretirement.com. Takeprideinretirement.com is the website, and you can click on the schedule a consultation button at the very top of the page. And I'll be glad to talk with you about anything that we talk about here on the show, or, that particular long-term care issue specifically. Another solution, build a healthcare directive to ensure that your wishes are honored. So a healthcare directive is like a living will, right? If XYZ were to happen, here's what I want to happen in that particular situation. Another mistake is neglecting either family or support network. Now, the mistake would be to assume that biological family will provide care, especially if, as I was saying earlier, those relationships are strained. And the mistake would also be then either neglecting family if they are supportive, right? And making sure that, you maintain that good relationship with them. And then also neglecting any support networks that you might have, a chosen family, friends who you rely on, that kind of thing. So a solution here would be to cultivate strong social networks or chosen family, as I mentioned, for support, and explore community-based or LGBTQ plus specific senior living facilities. They are out there. And so that might be something to explore for yourself, and to, take into account the acceptance of LGBTQ plus individuals at other facilities that might not be, specific or specifically for LGBTQ plus folks in those facilities, right? Another mistake here, not accounting for the potential need to move to a more inclusive area, which may have a higher cost of living. You don't want to underestimate the cost of living in retirement, no matter who you are, but it's very much important for LGBTQ plus folks, because, if you live in a rural area or somewhere that might be, in an area that's not particularly rural, but not particularly urban, but not also particularly the most accepting of LGBTQ plus individuals, you might want to move at some point in your life. You might want to move in retirement. You might want to move before that. So not accounting for the potential need to move to an area where the cost of living is probably going to be higher, because chances are it's going to be an urban area, if that's the case. And the cost of living will be higher because you're going to be paying more per square foot to live somewhere. Going out to eat is going to be more expensive. Parking is going to be more expensive, unless you were to live somewhere like New York, where you could just get rid of your car and just take the subway everywhere. But I say that from experience, and the cost of living definitely higher there. if this is something that you need to do or want to do for your life. As I said, whether in retirement or before, adjust your savings goals to accommodate those potential costs, right? So you might want to save a little more, have a little more standing by, have a little bit more invested perhaps, or in a money bucket where you're going to get some growth, but have some safety involved as well. You might want to adjust all of that to accommodate those potential costs of the higher cost of living in those situations, right? Another mistake, this is number 5 here, is to fail to maximize Social Security benefits. If you missed last week's show, we talked a lot about Social Security and talked a lot about the benefits there and different issues that LGBTQ plus people need to take heed of, take advantage of the opportunities that we have to maximize their benefits. But, a big mistake that a lot of people make is missing out on spousal or survivor benefits due to lack of awareness or misinformation that could be out there. So educate yourself about those things. A great place to start is to go to takeprideinretirement.com or search Take Pride in Retirement anywhere you get your podcasts and go to last week's episode. It'll be the one from the 17th of January, 2025. And it talks a lot about Social Security, specifically Social Security issues pertaining to LGBTQ plus folks. So go there, educate yourself about it, and understand the benefits that are available for, yourself if you are single, if you're unmarried, or those who are married. And I will say, and this is one that I will say probably over and over again as the episode continues here, consult with a financial advisor who understands LGBTQ plus issues. I can look in the mirror and say that I am an advisor who understands LGBTQ plus issues. So I hope that you will reach out to me if you have any questions about any of the things that I've been talking about so far and will talk about. But once again, the website is takeprideinretirement.com, takeprideinretirement.com. You can go to the homepage there and you can click on the top of the page where it says schedule a consultation. The consultation is free of any cost and any obligation. Number 6 now is a big one, is a big mistake that people will make. And that is overlooking discrimination risks, really. And assuming that a retirement facility that you might be interested in or might be looking at, or a retirement service that you might be interested in, is LGBTQ friendly. Well, it very well might not be, even this day and age, yes. So, visit those places, vet any retirement communities to make sure that you assess their inclusivity and ask about anti-discrimination policies. Mistake number 7 is delaying planning due to past economic inequalities. Postponing savings or investments due to historical challenges in employment or income equality. That is a big mistake because the earlier you plan, the better off you will be in your retirement years, and the more that future you will thank you. Another big mistake that people make when planning for retirement as an LGBTQ plus person is ignoring emotional well-being or focusing solely on the financial aspect of retirement and neglecting things like mental health, neglecting social needs. This is huge, huge, folks. And it's something that I really want to focus on, not only here on the show, but in, my everyday sort of practice in working with people, because it's so important that you can have all the money in the world and be miserable if you don't focus on your mental health needs, your physical health needs, your social needs, social interaction, actually getting out there, being with people, right? Plan for those things, activities that you like doing, things that you like to do. Don't just sit at home and be alone. And that is just not good for anyone, at least not all the time. Maybe you're an introvert and you're kind of like me and you like being alone. But, there have been times where I have been alone. My husband's an actor, and every once in a while he will travel across the country and, do a show somewhere and be gone for a month or two at a time. And as much as I am fine with being alone, it kind of drives me crazy, especially eventually anyway. And especially if it happens in the wintertime, because there's that alone feeling, and then there's like cabin fever and seasonal affective disorder, and the fact that the sun goes down so super early, and all of that, your dark hours are so much longer. So yeah, it's not fun to say the least. So take care of yourself mentally, take care of yourself socially and physically as well. The last mistake, number 9, that I will mention is not seeking LGBTQ plus specific financial advice. The mistake would be working with professionals who are not informed about any of these issues, any of the issues that pertain to LGBTQ plus communities, or, lack any sort of cultural competence, quite honestly. So you, as an LGBTQ plus individual, need to seek out a financial planner or, someone who is an advisor like myself with experience serving LGBTQ plus clients, or even better, like myself, who is a member of the LGBTQ plus community, someone who can understand your needs. Even if I haven't maybe lived your specific situation, I can understand it, because chances are I've worked with someone who's had a situation that's very similar. I will be empathetic to your situation because, we're all members of this beautiful tapestry of the LGBTQ plus community. And I feel like today, now more than ever, we really need band together, to stick together and, seek out each other in life, support each other. And hopefully you will let me do that for you from a financial standpoint. TakePrideInRetirement.com is the website. That's TakePrideInRetirement.com. Schedule a free consultation